By Councilmember Perry Oaks, who will then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
This was, State of the Union this week. Now, I will admit that I watched the State of the Union only during the halftime of the BYU-Iowa State game, so I saw the perfect amount of time of any State of the Union, 15 minutes. But it's, what you love is you have a nation where you're able to stand up and to talk about what's going on, and you have opposing sides. Now, unfortunately, we're at a state in our nation where the opposing sides don't talk and don't agree and don't try to work it out. And that's what I very much appreciate being, having been in city government for now a little over 3 years, because even when we disagree amongst ourselves, and that happens, we always talk it out. And if you look at what we did with the CRA, where a lot of the residents brought up things that were concerns, and we were able to step back, have good dialogue, and then step back and say, let's take a pause and get this better. And we're going down that path. This is really where the rubber meets the ramp across the nation, is at the city and county levels. And so very appreciative of those who would come tonight just to be a part and to be here and to participate and keep us honest, right? So if you'd rise and we'll, for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tammy, can I say a prayer? Yeah. And normally say a prayer before the pledge, and I just had, my mouth kept going instead of my brain. So if you'd let me lead in prayer, please. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this day, and we're thankful for the opportunity to be here in City Council, for the opportunity to serve the residents of this great city of which we're a part of. We're thankful for the freedoms which we have, and pray that we might do all in our power to maintain and keep them going forward. We pray for the health of the nation, and that thy Spirit might be upon the leaders as they guide us in these tumultuous times. In this we pray humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Councilmember Oaks. We do not have anyone signed up for a call to the public. Council, do we have any conflicts of interest? No, nothing to declare? Okay. Then let's go to agenda item number 4, consent items A and B. I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve consent items A and B.
Friendly amendment.
Oh, go ahead.
Would you mind just pulling consent item B for discussion? I just want more of a description of what we're talking about with the.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve consent item A and remove consent item B for discussion.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilmember Oaks. Councilmember Hunt.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Councilmember Adams.
I think Jason could probably give us a quick description of what's going on here. I had one neighbor text me asking what it was about, and so I felt like this would be an appropriate time for us to share.
Thank you. So this is kind of somewhat of a follow-up on the last council meeting. The council authorized me to go ahead and negotiate an agreement with a government relations consultant, Adam Gardner, which we did. This is in order to, we're looking for federal money to help on a road project, the Angel Street extension, which currently dead ends at the south end. And the plan is that that'll eventually extend past the sewer district property and connect into Sunset. And we've got that project about 90% designed. It's probably going to be somewhere between $4 and $5 million, but we know we don't have any money for that project for many years out, although we see a need for it. Symphony Homes has plans to develop in that area, as many people know, and they've done some open houses with the neighbors and everything out there. And looking forward to getting their proposal. But this opportunity came along that we realized there still are there's still federal funding out there for projects like this. And we've had conversations with Adam Gardner. I guess getting to the point of tonight's resolution, we thought because there's mutual interest in getting that federal funding. And so Adam Gardner's fee is $5,000 a month, and we're going to be doing that for the next few months as he's working with Blake Moore's office and trying to get that money for us. But we worked with Symphony, and they were gracious to agree with us to split that fee. So we're each paying $2,500 a month for the next 6 months as Blake Moore's office, or as Adam Gardner works with Blake Moore's office. So this is a great benefit for the city, certainly, to have Symphony participate in that cost with us. We're cautiously optimistic with this. We're getting really good signals from Blake Moore's office right now that they're going to hopefully prioritize this. And then if they do, then it goes to the Congressional Committee, the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, which is we're expecting to have a decision from them by end of July, early August. If they prioritize it at committee, then we're told, a very, very high chance that we'll get this money, which could be, again, $4 to $5 million. That's a huge payoff for Kaysville and a huge project for us. So we're really hopeful. This is one of those projects you hear about is shovel ready, and the kind of projects that a lot of our representatives want to support for their constituents, like Kaysville. But again, that's tonight's agreement, that we're just accepting this reimbursement from Symphony Homes to help pay for the fee.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll make a motion that we approve, if that's okay. I'll make a motion that we approve consent item B.
No, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to action item 5A, an ordinance amending section 12-2-2 vehicles and enacting section 12-2-12 bicycles and skateboards of chapter 12-2 parks and public property in the Kaysville City Code. Turn the mic over to Cole. I should say Cole, not
There you go.
Cole.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This action item tonight is the final step in this last sections of our code changes that we began about 6 weeks ago. This is the motor vehicles, and then we added this section based on feedback from a few council meetings ago regarding e-bikes and e-scooters and those that, so we thought it was best to create a separate category to deal with those rather than try to lump them into motor vehicles. And it just got really confusing, which Councilmember Blackham was spot on, just got really confusing. So we separated those out and deal with that separately. So all of those e-bike things are permitted as long as they're used in a safe manner. So this is no changes from the work session 2 weeks ago. Happy to answer any questions.
Safe manner as in not on the grass and not in a reckless way.
Not in a reckless manner where they're going to endanger other people using the park. So that does happen on occasion where some of these e-bikes do get going pretty fast. And
People definitely have to use common sense, which I still rely on, believe people can use common sense.
And we're not trying to, and that's why
I hope to
everybody-
think so.
Yeah.
You hate the bad actors to ruin it for everybody.
Yep.
And I'll tell you a little story, just kind of where I'm at with these, because I live by the path, but I also did a lot of riding up in Park City in that area. And I remember running into a lady one day, and I says, "So how do you like your e-bike and stuff?" And she says, "You know what? I couldn't go with my husband and my kids and all those people. I was never able to go riding bikes with them. I couldn't be with them. I was always left behind. And I'm telling you right now, this was a game changer and a life changer for me, and it has been nothing but good." And I've heard a lot of those stories.
I'm one of those ladies.
Well,
right
and
here.
I see a
Yes.
lot of these elderly people now, or not even elderly, just people out who
Yep.
maybe weren't physically capable of riding bikes as much, but they're out there now, and they're getting exercise, and they're enjoying things. And so I appreciate the change, and I appreciate the way we've got it. And, people just have to learn to be smart. It's like, my grandkids are out there. If there's a bunch of people on the path, we go somewhere else,
just be smart and be respectful of public property. So
Right.
Okay.
Thank you for your
Yep.
work on this. Okay. Council, ready for a motion on this?
I am.
Councilmember Jackson?
We're gonna make a motion.
Oh, I thought he was going to
Yep,
make
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we
Just look like he's
approve action item A, an ordinance amending section 12-2-2 vehicles and enacting section 12-2-12 bicycles and skateboards of chapter 12-2 parks and public property in the Kaysville City Code.
I'll second
Thank
it.
you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Oaks.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, action item 5B, consideration of enacting Kaysville City Code Title 17-31-5, farm stands, and amending 17-2 definitions. I won't read the rest, but we'll let it stand as is. Okay, Melinda.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is another fun one to present this evening, as it's a text amendment that's been proposed by a resident. So it's always fun to see the democratic process in action, especially in a positive light, as is with this. So our applicant here is here this evening. Britton Van Brocken is here. I will go through this fairly quickly and leave time for discussion with her or questions you may have for her, and then open up for discussion and questions from the council as well. This is just a couple of examples of pictures of what a farm stand could possibly look like. So next slide is a little bit more into what is a farm stand, which is a temporary sale of produce, ornamental crops, or cottage products that would be grown in Kaysville. So this is something that is proposed to be allowed in agricultural and residential zones. It would have to be operated by the legal owner or occupant of the property. The farm stand would be a temporary nature, so it would have to be less than 180 days. And the regulations on this in particular are that the square footage allowed would be no more than 100 square feet. Planning Commission had discussion and determined that allowing one sign less than 15 square feet would be appropriate in this instance, and at the end of the hours of operations each day, products and signage would need to be removed, but the stand, or if there's a pop-up tent or a table, something like that, could be left out. So this was before the Planning Commission on February 13th. We had actually a very good discussion. It was a very fun meeting where there were a few different options we were kind of considering on definitions, the timing and duration, and those types of things. And so what's before you this evening is what the Planning Commission felt comfortable recommending. We did have a public hearing. One comment was received, and Commissioner Allred, who is involved in the planning community, had a couple of students from the U that attended the meeting, and so one of them got up and commented about a possible definition for our duration. Other than that, we didn't have any other comments. The Planning Commission voted unanimously 7-0 to recommend approval. If you would like, I do have the ordinance pulled up, or I can pull it up on the screen. We could go over that in greater detail if you would like, but based on the recommendation from the Planning Commission, we are recommending this City Council approve this farm stand ordinance as presented.
Okay, thank you. Had an opportunity to listen to the Planning Commission meeting. It was fantastic. We have Commissioner Tuller here. Thank you for participating in that. And applicant, Britton, we'd love to invite you up, since you also signed up to speak on it. So tell us your vision.
Okay. So I've been flower farming for like almost 9 years, and I've always wanted a farm stand, but I knew like I couldn't, it wasn't in the code. So finally found this Salt Lake City Code section that had farm stand, and working with the staff, we figured out we could do a text amendment, and so that's kind of where this came about. I'm also on the board for the Utah Cut Flower Farm Association, so there's a lot of us flower farmers in Utah. We have over 150 members, and so thinking of them as well, even in Kaysville, we have several members, and thinking, oh, they would like this, and just wanting to get farm stands going, and hopefully other cities will pick up on this as well. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. Council, do we have any questions for our applicant.
Can I ask something, Mayor?
Yes, absolutely.
So we were kind of talking about this before, and I was wondering if you could kind of briefly go over the 180 days thing and kind of tell us how that pans out for a farm stand owner.
Okay. Yes. So in the text amendment that I proposed, I just put temporary. I didn't really come up with a definition. So when we had our planning commission meeting, they kind of were like, well, half a year, 180 days feels temporary. That feels right. So for me, if I were to open my farm stand Easter weekend, April 18th, I would need to be done by October 11th. And like that could work. I mean, maybe there would be some other farmers that would maybe have pumpkins that would like to go a little bit later, or maybe they have daffodils in March or spinach in March that could go earlier. And so that was just the discussion on duration, but
Yes, Councilmember Oaks.
So this is probably not specifically for you. I have one for you, but so down on the corner of Angel and 200 North, they've sold pumpkins there every fall. Isn't that a farm stand, or how did that play out? Or
they might be up.
Yeah, so my guess is that would be commercial property, which retail sales are allowed. I would assume that they get a business license. I could check with Mindy on that. But this essentially is a way to allow retail sales in a residential area or agriculture.
Okay, so and that was going to be my next question. So would you just do it like on the corner of your property?
Right, so
Or-
it has to be on my farm stand, and in the code section, it has to be like 10 feet away from the property line. So like for me, I'd probably put it in my driveway and then have like my sign, like there's the farm stand, and I'm going to do like a self-serve. I don't want to be like out there every day, so I'll have like a
An honor
Venmo or
system.
something. Yeah, honor system.
Okay.
And does this allow other people to be vendors at a neighborhood farm stand? So how would that work? If I also wanted to bring some produce over, but I don't want to do it in my yard or flowers or something,
So the way the code is written is, yes, that
would be allowed.
would be allowed. It would have to be grown in Kaysville, or for the cottage industry products, it would have to be produced in Kaysville. So that would allow, if Britton has a neighbor who wants to sell honey, she could sell the neighbor's honey. It just can't exceed that 100 square feet.
Okay.
So it does allow for some of that crossover to happen.
Okay, and for people who have just stands with free fruit or free vegetables in front of their house, that is different because it is not retail sales, right? Okay. All right, any other questions or clarifications? Oh, Councilmember Hunt.
Well, I don't have a question for the applicant, but I kind of have a thought on this. I'm thinking, I don't want to be too restrictive. I mean, I don't see these becoming like a massive nuisance. So I think I would like to have a discussion on either extending the time to 200 days so that they can kind of get fall and spring, or saying 180 days that could be split into two groups of 90 days. So maybe if they do, I don't know. I want to see what everyone thinks and see where we land on that.
Well, I would have thought the 180 days was from the time
They
the
start.
person started their own. Like the pumpkin people wouldn't probably be out there in the spring, but they'd be out there in the fall.
But what if she wanted to have pumpkin sales?
Yeah, what if they
on
have
her
flowers
property
and
with her
That's
pumpkins?
great
flowers?
if she wanted to. I don't know.
I think what we're trying to avoid with the time limit is just that it's not a permanent established stand all year long in someone's yard, right? Isn't that what we're trying to avoid?
Yeah, and to give a little bit more context to that, the discussion that we had as staff and then with the Planning Commission is we were trying to keep that consistent with some of the time frame with our other temporary uses. Actually, 180 days, I think, is longer than that. But the concern really was we want to keep the sanctity of a neighborhood area, and there could be some fatigue of having that extend for a long period of time. But you know, that is obviously a decision that's up to the council and whatever decision you would feel is appropriate. Some other cities, you know, temporary would be defined as 120 days. And so this is a little bit more generous than some of those other definitions that are out there. But we definitely, as staff, we would like to have some type of a time frame established so that we know that there's a starting and a stopping point, especially if we do have problems with, you know, complaints, that we can track that adequately.
And that would be part of their application? They would
Yeah.
indicate their time, their 180-day period?
We would require in the application that they just list like when they're going to start that 180 days. And again, discussions with staff was that, well, you know, it may not be able to accommodate the entire, and I'm going to use the language of the applicant, but a cold growing season or a shoulder growing season. But that just means, right, maybe somebody has to choose what's more profitable, daffodils or pumpkins. And I think that's okay for a business owner to have to decide. But again, the prerogative of the council is to determine if they want to keep that at 180 days or change that.
I actually kind of like the idea of the 180 days in the year, so where that could be paused. So if someone has a stand and they're actively doing this, but they want to take a month off and then kick it back up, I would rather see just 180 days period is the longest that stand can be up, but with some flexibility there.
I don't know how we would monitor that. Or
Yeah,
control
that's
but-
that's the difficulty is that so then we would have to track, okay, they did it in March, but they skipped 3 weeks in April, and then it was, you know, June through August. And so from the staff perspective, enforcing and regulating, that would be challenging for us.
Well, I don't think we really need to monitor it unless it becomes a problem. I mean, we kind of have some faith in the folks that are setting up these stands in my mind. I just don't think we need to be that strict unless it becomes a nuisance. Maybe other neighbors will complain, and then we can at that time assess. And I don't know. I just kind of like a little more flexibility right off the bat.
Okay. Councilmember Hunt, was that a recommendation / motion-ish?
Well, I don't know.
Recommendation or
I don't
just a
know that
discussion?
I'm comfortable with 180 days, because I mean, you could do like every other day and get the whole year, right? Ish.
Yeah, ish.
Yes, yes.
Ish, you know, almost, and I can see where that would be difficult to enforce, and you know, and not that we're going to go out and be like, your stand's supposed to be closed, but just if there are issues, it's going to be difficult to document whether or not
Right.
anything was broken.
They were in or out of compliance.
Yeah, I think that's why I kind of was like, maybe we could do like 90 and 90. That way, it's like this is for sure a set time and a set time. But maybe that's not the best idea.
And Melinda's saying that you go to a lot of places, it's 120 days. We're saying 180, so we're already adding, the 60 days to that. I would almost rather say, let's go with 180, let's do it as is, and let's see how it is a year or two from now. If there's a problem, it'll come back. But I would go with staff and planning commission's recommendation on that. That's my thought.
Okay.
Well,
Any other-
and just to add to that, but the consideration of if we just say 180 days and it's every other day, I mean, that means essentially somebody has a business out in front of their property for an entire year, and it's no longer temporary in nature. And again, we looked at right. This is a very different type of use than what we have in our home occupations, where we actually don't allow any signage. We don't allow customers to come, and those home occupations have been we really have not had any. Very minimal complaints in my 3 years that I've been here. In fact, if anything, it's a complaint that people are doing it and they haven't come through the process. They don't have the conditional use permit and the license. We did want to start a little bit more conservatively, but also be consistent with what we're doing in our home occupations.
Okay, makes sense. Anyone else? All right, seeing no further discussion, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion then that we move item B, consideration of enacting Kaysville City Code Title 17-31-5 farm stands and amending 17-2 definitions. That's a long, and everything listed on the action on item B, and moving that to.
Approve it?
Yes, approve it. It's already an action item. Duh. Okay, approve that.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilmember Hunt and Councilmember Oaks. Councilmember Blackham.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Good luck. Thank you for bringing this forward. It was great discussion.
What's
Planning
your
Commission,
address?
thank you. Right. We're excited. This will be great. Okay, Councilmember reports. Does anyone have anything that they would like to report on? Happened this last 2 weeks. The only thing that I'll report on is just that I'm appreciative of our council. We have active, engaged council members. The state legislature will end their session tomorrow at midnight. It's been very busy. I think over 900 bills have been introduced, and it's been very chaotic and very crazy and very interesting. So appreciate the engagement from everyone, keeping track of things, and doing what we can to protect our city and the rights of local municipalities in the discussion. Other than that, we'll turn the time over to Jason, City Manager Report.
Mayor, seeing Cole in the audience made me think of the meeting we had this afternoon with Dr. Linford from Davis School District. Just had a good meeting about the gymnasium that they're planning to build over at Kaysville Junior High School. We're still waiting on more information about numbers and things like that. They've put an RFP out for an architect, and we'll have some information in the coming months. I think they're still planning on breaking ground this fall, so that's really coming up soon. I know this is a project that we've talked about a few times over the years, and it's getting closer and closer. So exciting, a great, huge opportunity for a partnership. Many people remember this opportunity came up a number of years ago with Centennial, and we passed, and I think there's a lot of people around town that have felt like we missed an opportunity, but this is an opportunity that we're hoping to take advantage of. So again, we'll know more information in the coming months about costs and everything. I've already started talking to Dean about, maybe how this would be funded. We've got some ideas, but we'll come back with more information. And that's all I think.
Okay, thanks. And for those that might be listening, that would be they're going to create a building, build a new building, and it will include 4 full-size courts, which would be great for our city. We have a lot of programs, and we lack court space. So this will be an opportunity for Kaysville to partner with Kaysville Kaysville Junior High and the school district to go in together and build a nice new gym space that we can all benefit from. So it'll be good. All right, anything else? No? Okay. Motion to adjourn. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
We have another meeting, right?
We do.
We do. What am I thinking, guys? Sorry.
Turn it over.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the Kaysville Business Park Architectural Review Committee. We have before us the opportunity to approve an electronic message center sign for Barnes Park located at approximately 950 West, 200 North. Who is presenting this? Melinda.
This sign in particular has gone through every process possible, including a text amendment to allow EMC signs in the public use zone, which the council approved a couple weeks ago. It's been submitted for building permit. We need this approval this evening, and then it also needs a conditional use permit from the Planning Commission, and that'll go to them next week. So Commissioner Toller, who's here this evening, will get a preview of what we'll present next week. This would replace a sign that has been in existence already at the property where that little blue dot is. That sign no longer exists. It's been demolished. And so also on a side note, it occurs that we have not taken anything that has been done in Barnes Park to the Architectural Review Committee, although the property is in the Kaysville Business Park, and so this is an appropriate item for the Architectural Review Committee to be seeing. And as a side note going forward, as we work to transition the responsibility of the review committee over to the property owners, we're going to look at removing Barnes Park from the Kaysville Business Park so that we would not be taking our own items in the future to the Architectural Review Committee. So just doesn't make sense for us to have our public parks going through that process. So this sign essentially is an exact replica of what we have out here in front of the old library. And the main difference between the two signs would just be that it would say Barnes Park instead of what it says down here. It's Utah's hometown, I think is what that says. The staff has reviewed this. It meets all of the regulations in our sign code as well as the guidelines for the business park. So we are recommending approval. And our applicant, Mr. Stevens, is here this evening if you have any questions for him.
Okay, board members, do we have any questions for the Parks and Rec Department regarding the sign that they would like to place in the park? No?
Just
Board
a comment,
member-
I don't want to mess this up, so, because this is on a public meeting, I don't want to mess this up, but, because I don't have the story great, but I want to make sure that it's clear that you see that, you look at that sign there and it says Barnes Memorial Park, okay? And I kind of believe that it helps kind of memorialize the family, because it's not just Rulon and Emily Barnes. If you understand what happened early on, their children were killed in a car accident on their way to the theater. And so that was one of the reasons that Rulon and Emily donated the property to the city, was because they didn't have any children to heir the property to. And so they gave it to the city. Cole, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to get any, I don't want to state something, but I think it kind of memorializes the whole family, not just Rulon and Emily, by saying Barnes Memorial Park. I kind of believe it kind of brings in light the whole family, because
Preserve
that
that
was
legacy.
one of the big reasons why they donated the property to the city in the first place, because they just didn't have any heirs left.
Do we have plans to include that?
So if you can go back to that aerial shot. I don't know if there's a pointer here or not, but.
Are you wanting to include a year or?
No, there's a
No,
stand.
So,
I mean,
so there's
there's
a
I just
sign.
want to say,
So
they
if you-
Right, I
said
realize
it
there's.
just said Barnes Park, but it says Barnes
Barnes
Memorial
Memorial. Oh, okay,
Park,
got it, all right.
And that's,
We
Okay,
currently have a sign that sits right there along this sidewalk that faces the creek.
that does.
That actually describes the story of what happens. And we do have plans down the road to try to get that story, why it's called Barnes Park. The family didn't donate the entire 46 acres.
No.
The city acquired some of it from the Flints and other pieces. But this original property right here was the one that was gifted to the city from the Barnes family. So we do have the sign here. That sign stays. It just kind of describes what Mike, or Councilmember Blackham, mentioned. So.
And it's also worth noting that this sign here is oriented in an east-west way, but this EMC sign will be north-south.
So you can, yeah.
So you'll be able to see it.
And just if people are asking, listening, the sign has the ability, lights can be dimmed at night, it can go static at night, meaning that the image can just be static. It can just say time, the park closed at 11, we can do it so just as a static sign. It can be dimmed, the motion can be controlled, so it's a very sophisticated sign. It's a step above the sign that we have here as far as the millimeters on the LEDs, so it should have a crisper image, stuff like that, so.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve action item, is it still called an action item?
Just approve item.
Just approve item 2.
Okay,
A second?
all right, thanks. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That was fast. 7:30, right? 7:30. What's our record, like 25 minutes?
second and third period might not be over the hockey game.